Yeah, a quiz is a really great way to get market research to figure out what it is that you should be selling. So before you even create anything, before you put all that time and energy into building out a specific product or offering, you can start with a quiz that adds them to a wait list. Psych, there's no actual product yet, but then you'll just gauge interest, right? Like how many people are going to buy this thing if I were to create it? And then with Interact Analytics, it makes it super easy to see, hey, like 70% of your audience is asking for this thing. That would be very well worth your time to create, as opposed to just assuming that they need something and then starting to build that. And then it's crickets when you launch because nobody actually needed it.
Hey, boss, you are listening to ADHD-ish, formerly The Driven Woman Entrepreneur, the podcast for business owners with big ideas and busy brains, whether you have an official ADHD diagnosis or not. If you've ever wondered why so many folks with ADHD-ish tendencies become entrepreneurs, today's interview will be like a bunch of bright and shiny light bulbs going off all at once. My guest is fellow entrepreneur coach and new ADHD-ish bestie, Bree Seeley, who didn't even recognize her ADHD traits until her fourth decade. What took so long? Simply this. Those very same tendencies were the thing that fueled her success. Jackie, even though you and I are relatively new friends, I am no stranger to the company you work for, Interact. As a matter of fact, I've had a very successful quiz called What's Holding You Back for a couple of years now. And so I was really excited and eager to get together with you and record this episode because there's so many different ways that people can use to grow their business. But if you are ADHD-ish, like you and I are, the thing that makes the most sense is to grow your business with novelty, playfulness, curiosity, and fun. So that is what we are going to talk about and how to use a quiz to do just that. So welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Diane. And that is one of the reasons that quizzes have a 40% conversion rate because they are literally so fun to take. We hear a lot of times in marketing, like, what is the thing that you're going to do to stop the scroll? And quite often that's a quiz because a quiz is asking a question that your audience really wants to know. And then I know we're going to dig into this into the episode, but then at the end of the quiz, someone is getting a personalized result. So you can get really specific with what it is that you want to share with them, tell them, email them, etc.
So I know that people with ADHD tendencies are often impulsive and novelty seeking. So it makes sense to me that they're like, ooh, this is an intriguing question. This is something I want to know more about. I want to see how I score on this. So I know for a fact that my audience is all over it with quizzes. But from what you've shared so far, Jackie, this is not just people with brains like mine and yours. This is like human nature. We're curious and we want to know more. And if we can get an answer to a question that we have in a way that's fun, why would we go look it up in Google? Why would we even do that to ourselves?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And the other thing our CEO, Josh, always says is people love to talk about themselves. That's like the number one thing everybody loves to do. And so, or loves to talk about. And so with a quiz, you're doing that. You're answering questions about yourself. You're telling the person on the other side more about you. But then there's also sort of this like self-justification on the other end too, when you score really high, or maybe you score really low, right? Like it's like, oh, well, I kind of knew that about myself, or maybe I didn't know that all the way about myself, but the quiz sort of justifies it for us of like, yes, that is how I'm feeling. And yeah, I do need to learn more about this. Or yeah, I know I really have this concept down. Let me look at something else or whatever the topic is for your specific quiz.
I know we're going to get into some of your most recent features and how you've literally made it ridiculously easy. I wish that you had this feature when I created my quiz, because at that point it was more work than it is now. Now it's just ridiculously easy and you have no excuse not to have a quiz. But before we get into those specifics, I'm curious to know, like you have worked with hundreds, thousands of different business owners. What are like the different types of quizzes? Because a lot of people think, ooh, I want a quiz, but then well, what kind of quiz am I going to have? And what is it going to be about? And what am I going to put into it? And then they get analysis paralysis and end up doing nothing. So let's talk about what different types of quizzes a business owner, a solopreneur might consider.
Yeah, so there's three basic types of quizzes. The first one and the most popular one, not that you have to use this type, but is the personality quiz. And this is what tells somebody more about themselves, teaches them about themselves, their preferences, their behaviors, what makes them tick. And you can really use that sort of psychology to guide that person to the next step based on what you're teaching them about themselves. The next type of quiz would be a scored quiz, which assesses how much somebody knows about a certain topic. So maybe it's, I don't know, how much do you know about ADHD? I would score
Mm-hmm.
really low on that. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I actually have it. Diane just told me this before the episode, but a quiz could you verify that for me, So a scored quiz teaches you about a certain topic and sort of rates you on how you do there. And then there's also like a trivia style quiz, or sometimes they're called assessment style quizzes. And those quizzes are similar to a scored quiz where you rank like you're either really good or not so well. But more so, each question has a correct answer. So you're literally like giving trivia questions or assessing like how many times you get the question right or wrong. That's probably the least popular type of quiz. But again, there's really no right or wrong answer on the type of quiz that you use. It really depends on who are you talking to, what are you talking to them about, and what's the best way to get that message across.
Yeah, this definitely narrows it down. And I can easily see as a former psychotherapist why the personality style quiz is
Mhm.
so incredibly popular. But I know that not all quizzes are going to get 40% conversions. Like that is fan-freaking-tastic. So what are some of the ways that people who have attempted to create quizzes with your company or others manage to get it wrong? What are the mistakes that we could make
Yeah.
when we're trying to
Okay.
figure out how to do a quiz that converts 40%?
Great question. Yeah, I would say it's when you are focused on making a quiz for yourself and not actually for your audience. So you really want to guide. Sometimes like we know what our people need, right? Like this is what we sell our expertise. You have specific offerings because you know people need this thing, but people don't know that they need this thing yet. So you really want the quiz to lead in with what it is that person wants, teach them about themselves, or hey, you actually don't know that much about this topic, and then give them what they need on the other side. I see a lot of quizzes that don't convert when you're trying to give them what they need right from the quiz title. Well, I don't need that, so why would I take that quiz? And that's where you might get a lot of views on your quiz, but people aren't actually clicking in to take it, so you won't see the conversion rate.
This is really landing because I call it the curse of expertise, Jackie, because it seems like the more you know, the harder
Yeah.
it is to make the information you want to convey to others accessible. It's just you're burdened by knowing so much that you honestly can't even remember what it was like to be a beginner with the topic that is now your body of work. So it's like going all the way back to the beginning when you didn't know about it and not assuming that people know things that they don't know. I think we've both heard this at least a million times. Sell them what they want so
Mhm.
that you can give them what they need. And when I first started
Exactly.
hearing that, I thought, God, that sounds really manipulative. But it's actually quite true based on what you've just said. Could you give us like an example of like suiting the quiz to where your ideal client actually is, not where you think they are or should be?
Yeah, the best way I think to do this is A, listen to your customers, maybe do a little bit of market research, but like, what is the question that your audience asks you the most often? And that is very likely the best quiz title that you're going to come up with because it's exactly what they want. So, what is it that they are asking and how are they asking it? And that's usually the route that you want to go. So when we offer strategy calls at Interact when people are getting ready to set up their quiz. We have a tool, Interact AI, which we'll talk about, which will help you get there a little bit a lot of it faster. But at the end of the day, even before you start using the tool, I'm a big fan of what is like really thinking through what is that question that people are asking you? What is it that they want to know so that you can get them into your quiz that much faster? Because that's the thing that's going to stop the scroll. That's what's going to get them to click, not a question that you think they might need, but they're not even thinking that. Because, like you said, we're so ingrained in our business every single day. We're such experts in what it is that we're talking about that we assume, or we don't necessarily think back to the beginning stages of, oh yeah, that level of awareness isn't there yet. They don't know about this thing yet. So I need to talk about that first to get them to the point where they're ready to buy or take the next step, whatever that looks like, by telling them, here, let's learn about this, and then we can go into the next step. And when you were saying that, I just want to add this too. This is why. So when I first started at Interact, I led coaching cohorts of groups of people that we would make quizzes together, and they lasted 5 weeks, 5 weeks just to put a quiz together. And the hardest part was always coming up with, what do I make this quiz about? Because people so often jumped into, I want to ask them this and this, and I want to know this about this person. But that's not what you want to do when you're thinking about your quiz strategy and putting your quiz together. That's what you want to do on the back end. Once people are subscribed, they're interested, you're providing them the value that they want, that's when you give them what they need.
You're reminding me, I intended to be in one of those cohorts.
Mm-hmm.
I would have met you a lot sooner if I
We
had.
have been friends forever.
Yeah, but I did not take advantage of it. Now, I understand you're not doing that anymore, but you're right. Probably most of my clients, when we're talking about their marketing strategy, their client attraction strategy, and how they're going to build their business and gain more leads and customers, almost everybody thinks of a quiz. But you have to choose the right topic. You have to ask the right questions. And what would you say to somebody who says, well, I'm just getting started, so I understand you want me to do market research, but I haven't actually sold anything yet. How do they know what to do if they don't have those repeat customers or current customers or past customers even that they can go ask these questions of?
Yeah, a quiz is a really great way to get market research to figure out what it is that you should be selling. So before you even create anything, before you put all that time and energy into building out a specific product or offering, you can start with a quiz that adds them to a wait list. Psych, there's no actual product yet, but then you'll just gauge interest, right? Like, how many people are going to buy this thing if I were to create it? And then with Interact Analytics, it makes it super easy to see, hey, like 70% of your audience is asking for this thing. That would be very well worth your time to create, as opposed to just assuming that they need something and then starting to build that, and then it's crickets when you launch because nobody actually needed it.
I never actually connected those two thoughts before I just heard you say that. I mean, there's so many, we've all heard, find out what people want before you build it. Don't build something in a vacuum. Don't spend all the time and money and effort and focus and attention and dollars and opportunity cost and end up with something that nobody freaking wants. Mm-hmm. Use a quiz to find out what people want and then build that. That is actually brilliant.
Yeah, I love it. I'm brushing my shoulders.
I see that.
Yeah, the other thing you could do, like, this is using Interact, you could do this. You could also do it through like an Instagram poll, right? Like if you're starting out on social media, you put a poll out there, like ask people what is it that they want to learn more about, and then build a quiz off of those different topics, right? If you have a website, if you're starting out with a website or a blog, like what are the posts that are getting the most clicks or the most traffic? What are people typing into Google in order to find you? Like what are those keywords? And that's what you can use to get started with the quiz. I think even if you don't have this verified offer yet, because yeah, like you were saying, why build it? What's the build it and they will come? Don't do that.
No. This is not Field of Dreams, especially because but I love how like you can really game the whole experience, right?
Totally.
You game it with the quiz, you game your market research with a quiz. And then you could also build a lot of playfulness, curiosity, novelty, and fun into the business model you create based on those answers. Do you ever recommend running Facebook ads or Instagram ads or Google ads to a quiz so that you can get a lot more responses in very little time?
Yes, because you can target lookalike audiences but I would wait to do it until you know the quiz is converting organically. Because
Mhm.
why throw in a whole bunch of money to promote a quiz that you don't necessarily know works? Let it work with, even if it's a smaller audience to start with, right? Or like a few ideal customers. Make sure that people are getting through the quiz funnel in the way that you want them to before you start throwing in a whole bunch of money. Especially if, too, we were running a community at the time, there would be people who were kind of brand new to business that were like, well, let me just run ads and then I'm going to grow my business by
Yeah.
next week, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it never worked because you also don't have a paid offering. So you're running ads to this quiz that maybe is attracting a lot of views and collecting emails, but what are you selling them on the other side? Like, what's the benefit? What's the ROI for you? Maybe it's just collecting market research. And if that's the case, great, like get it out there as much as you possibly can. But we at Interact are big fans of have it work organically for you first and then amplify it using ads. Or if you're already using ads and you know what works, build a quiz off of what you're already running ads to, and then you can monitor the conversion that way.
No, that totally makes sense. How many quizzes do you think a small business? So if we're talking to people who are coaches of all kinds, consultants, creatives, independent professionals, freelancers, small business owners, the whole solopreneur category.
Yeah.
Do you usually recommend that people have one quiz that they're running at a time or multiple quizzes, or does it really make no difference and it's whatever the business owner prefers?
It's what you prefer, but it's also what does your audience need? Like, think about that too, right? And so there's no right or wrong answer to this. You could have one evergreen quiz that you use forever, and you could have multiple quizzes, but think about the intent behind each quiz first. So I've seen people who have like a sort of evergreen personality quiz that brings the person in top of funnel, and then you can segment them and give them your different offerings. So especially people with different ways, like different products or things that they're selling, different streams of revenue, right? That's a great way to segment them and put them into your different funnels. There's like so they'll use maybe like an evergreen personality quiz, but then maybe on their services page, it's like, hey, which service should you start with? So those are two separate quizzes that could be running at the same time, but one is living maybe out on social media or on your main page, where the other one is specifically on your services page because somebody has the intent to buy something when they click on your services page, right? And so it's just helping them make that decision faster. So there's not that analysis paralysis, and they're booking and moving to the next step based on your recommendation.
Mm.
But whatever you do, I do recommend, especially for people who have not made a quiz yet, only start with one. Don't try to make 5 quizzes at the same time and launch them all out there, because I promise you, 9.5 out of 10 times you'll probably fail. It can be overwhelming to launch a quiz. So start with one, get used to it, the sort of like get the experience of it. What does your audience do with it? How are you building out the funnel or attaching funnels to the quiz afterwards? And then you'll become a pro in no time, and you can build out as many quizzes as you want.
This is fantastic advice, Jackie, because in true ADHD-ish style, most of us would think, well, if one is good, 10 is better, and I can just multiply my result. No, 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 because to do this, if you're going to do this, and Jackie and I both hope you do, you want to do it right. You want to do it strategically. You want to do it with intention. You want to get ROI from it, and you want to actually use it as a tool to build your business, not just to get information from strangers that goes nowhere. But you mentioned something a moment ago, and I've used this with my quiz. And if we can use me as an example if you want, and you can pick apart my quiz. How we set it up is to have it be segmented based on the answer. So I think, do I have 6 answers? I have 6 different quiz results, and each of them goes into its own email nurture sequence and its own separate workflow. And that took some work, not just creating the quiz, but creating the emails, creating the workflow, and then recommendations from there. I still feel like maybe I could have done more with it. And probably if I had had a strategy session with you, I would already be doing that. But we are definitely booking one as soon as we conclude this meeting.
We're doing it.
But do you want to give me feedback on I know you've already taken the quiz and you've gone through it. So do you want to tell me what your result was, by the way?
Yeah, so my result was time blindness. So that would be what is holding me back. And I think it's pretty accurate because we were either talking on record or possibly before we hit record today, where I love to focus on things that interest me, but not necessarily like where they don't interest me.
Yeah.
What is it called? Procrastinate forever and ever or
Yep.
never do the thing. And so I can literally lose track of time when I'm looking into something too much. I'm terrible at using calendars and reminders. It's something that I'm practicing thanks to my business coach. So you really got me, Diane.
Do you have a
Um,
watch, by the way?
no. See?
Oh, okay. All right. That's hardcore. All right. I leave that to your business coach to fix. Okay. Go on.
Perfect. But yeah, so just to give everybody on the call an idea, if you haven't taken Diane's quiz, some of the other results that she has are distractibility, which also I could probably score really high in, impulsiveness, procrastination, perfectionism, and people pleasing. And so when we're talking about segmentation, you can see how those are very different areas of improvement for people, or maybe concerning areas for like to help them achieve their main goal, where Diane can get really, really specific with what she's telling you and like recommending just getting a watch. You wouldn't recommend that to somebody who's necessarily a perfectionist because maybe they definitely already have a watch and 100 calendars that
Yeah,
are color
exactly.
coordinated and all of
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly.
And so you can get really, even if you're selling the same offering at the end, let's just say it leads into your coaching, right? You're talking about how the coaching is going to help the person specifically based on the time block that they got in your quiz.
Hmm.
So that setup right there is great. And I can tell, can I share this, Dan, your stats? Um, of the people who started the quiz, you have over a 50% conversion rate. So that means of the number of people who started the quiz, at least half of them have finished it and subscribed onto your list. I think the area of improvement for you, and this is what we can dig into the strategy call, is you have a lot of views on the quiz and a much lower start level. So that conversion, I'm terrible at math. I would need a calculator, but
Yeah, me too.
it's probably like 8% from views to start. So you have over 10,000. Oh my God, now I'm going to like call myself out if that's not 8%, but you have over 10,000, almost 11,000 views on the quiz and about 800 people who started the quiz. So that's a really big opportunity of how do
Mm.
you get more of those eyes to actually click and hit start. And maybe it's because what's holding them back is not the question that they're actually asking. Or maybe it just needs to be changed. Like it is, they want to know what's holding them back, but the way they see it is like, what's going to get me over the finish line, through the glass ceiling, hitting this revenue goal, right? Like you can get more specific with what the quiz title could be and still keep the quiz exactly the same because the quiz is converting really well, but the way it's maybe being talked about or shared or where it's being shared, we can definitely play with because that conversion can go up quite a bit.
I actually want to end this podcast recording now and do the strategy call. Because honestly, we're not going to do that. It's just an impulse. Okay, I'm going to curb my enthusiasm. We're going to keep doing this because this is what we're doing. But the idea that once they start, they complete. I mean,
Yeah.
40% on average is impressive enough. 50, you know, can I just say that's awesome. However, you're absolutely right. If only 8% of eyeballs that see it decide to take it, it's either the question, the image, the phrasing, where they're finding it, how it's being promoted, how it's being offered, what they're being told they're going to get if they take it. And every single one of them is a possibility that something that could be improved. And I may not even need a second quiz, although I'm definitely going to have one. But I could get more. I put a lot of effort into this one, so I could get a lot more juice for the squeeze from my existing quiz. And it sounds like without a whole bunch of effort.
Yeah, it's very likely. And that's another reason I say only start with one quiz. Look at the analytics, see how it goes, and then improve and optimize from there. And not even just start with one quiz, start with one perfectly bad quiz, or rather, like imperfectly bad quiz, right? Like, don't try to get everything right the first time that you launch your quiz. We are big fans of done is better than perfect. So build it, get it out there, and then really look at the analytics to see what's happening because you're going to make such better improvements improvements on it once you actually have input from your audience on what's happening. And I promise you, I'm not a numbers person. So if I can read the analytics and know, hey, this is where we need to focus, you guys absolutely can too, because the breakdown we give you of the funnel is super, super clear and easy to look at. So to not overwhelm you, Diane, and hopefully this is I think this is a great start because like we said, your quiz is converting. Even if the quiz changes, it's very likely you can repurpose all of the work that happens in the back end. So you said you have specific emails that are going out to the 6 different results or like blocks, time blocks, right? Yep. Maybe all it is a change of the quiz topic leading into what they want, but what they need is this is what's blocking your time. And so your funnels are going to stay exactly the same. Your sort of segments or categories will stay the same, but the way that we're wording them and sharing them with your audience could be entirely different because they are thinking about it in a different way. They're not thinking about what's holding them back. They're thinking about propelling forward. It's the same thing, but we say it differently,
That is fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. It's if you study marketing, and I know you and I both do, one of the big debates is, do we poke the pain point or do we show them the thing that they really want? Are you leading them towards the pleasure or are you talking about the pain they're in? Both are motivating.
Yeah.
Both work, but they don't necessarily both work equally well with the same group of people. So what you said about, done is better than good. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, nobody remembers your shitty first draft. Nobody remembers your crappy first quiz. Nobody. But you can't make it better if you don't get it out there. I'm curious, even though I know you're not doing the group coaching anymore, I'm actually thrilled about doing the individual strategy session because I like getting one-on-one attention on just my thing. It's much more efficient and much more targeted and customized. But did you see that, what were the kind of things that would hang people up as they were going through the coaching program? Because to me, wanting a quiz, believing in the potency of a quiz, being fully committed to having one is one thing, but most of us are never going to finish what we start without a container that offers guidance, support, and most of all, accountability. So what did you see? What would hang people up who made the commitment to have a quiz and accept help in doing so? I'm sure they didn't all make it to the finish line. What caused people to fall short of that?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say that the reason we no longer offer the group coaching is because we've swapped it for the demo calls, the one-on-one or demo call strategy calls.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Interchangeably. Yeah. And so that's because people really did prefer the one-on-one support. Plus, we have this tool, Interact AI, now where on these 30-minute strategy calls, I usually will build the quiz for you in real time. So at the end of the 30 minutes, your quiz is done in your account, and then you're ready to customize and edit it. Those are exactly the things that would hang everybody up in the group coaching and in the community that we built off of it. Was they would either get stuck in the very, very beginning and have too many ideas of what to make their quiz about, or absolutely no idea what to make their quiz about. And they would get stuck in that analysis paralysis of, well, maybe this one, maybe not this one, maybe I'll start this one, then I'm gonna start a different one, I'll have a different idea, and it would go nowhere, right? You would never launch it. Or you would get clear on the quiz topic, and then you would get into the quiz results, and you would maybe overthink them, or maybe even in the questions too, I guess. But it was like, we see some examples of quizzes online, and people were trying to mock that strategy of these super long tail or long form result pages, these really built out email sequences. We use Jenna Kutcher as an example all the time because she's one of our original customers. She's grown her list by over 100,000 people. Her result pages are absolutely beautiful. They're super long. They are so detailed. She talks about how you should beef out on the result pages to give people all the value possible. She also has very engaging and long email sequences that tie into the quiz afterwards. But are you Jenna Kutcher? Do you have a team of Jenna Kutcher size? And so I think a lot of times people in the community or in coaching, especially when we use Jenna as the example, were thinking that their quiz had to achieve the same thing. It had to look like that. And it absolutely doesn't. Because I promise you, Jenna Kutcher's quiz didn't look like that when she first started it either, right? It evolved to that point. She possibly even started with one, took it down, and then tried a new one, right? And she's playing with different quizzes even today. And so I think that's the biggest area where people would get tripped up is not knowing the quiz topic. So like not even being able to get started, or once you're in the quiz, overthinking the process, whether it be in customizing the quiz or building out that email sequence afterwards. And so that's really where I say done is better than perfect. Get it out there, a simple version. And that's what Interact AI will now build for you. And that's what we'll talk about on the strategy call. And then even the email funnels you can build out afterwards too. Like, don't you want to make sure people get to the result before you send them 30 emails or even 5 emails, right? Like, don't write them just quite yet. Make sure that people are actually landing in that spot. Are the results, maybe it's like an actual manual email, right? Like, did the results resonate? What did you think of the quiz? And then use that to build the sequence out over time.
I want to do a deep dive into how to get started with Interact
Yeah.
AI, because literally everything that you've just said in my mind, because I had to build it the old fashioned way, it eliminates I think it actually eliminates every single objection, every single obstacle. The fact that you are actually setting the quiz up on the frickin' strategy call, not like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do it on the call, and then you're going to have to go do it all by yourself after the call is over, when all of your doubts, all of your fears, all of your insecurities, all of your analysis paralysis, your perfectionism, your overthinking, all of that shit is going to come crowding in, and it's not going to happen. Interact AI literally combined with the strategy call solves the problem. But before we do that, I want to make sure I do not forget to ask you, can a quiz come at different points in your funnel? For example, could you use a quiz top of funnel? Like, people are stone cold strangers. They don't know you from nobody. And that's their first introduction to your business ecosystem. Could it also be used like further along? Because what you said a couple minutes ago, Jackie, I'm thinking, using a more general quiz like the one I have and improving it, so I'm getting better than 8%, that's top of funnel. They're just beginning to hear about me. But having a different quiz that lives on my website that helps them choose which of my 3 coaching programs is right for them, that's not top of funnel anymore. That's like you're in the middle of it. I don't even think I realized that quizzes were that flexible. I only thought about them as top of funnel use.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Again, it goes back to the intent. Like, what's the goal at the end of the day? Once someone subscribes from here, what do you want them to do next? And you're speaking to people in your business at different stages of their business or their lives, at different levels of awareness, and you're talking to them at multiple points or different like time intervals, right? And so using a quiz top of funnel is great for growing top of funnel and putting people into your world, making them aware that you exist, how you can help them, what it is that the value that you can provide for them, right? But then exactly, yeah, a middle of the funnel or maybe even bottom of funnel quiz is like, okay, now you're ready to purchase from me. You're in a totally different state than somebody in that beginning piece. You already understand that about yourself. Now you're like, well, what's this? I don't know. What's the service that's going to get next to me, right? Maybe it's like a more intricate or detailed quiz that dives deeper into personalities or topics of knowledge that you're wanting to sort of like score them on, right? So really, yes, you can do anything with the quiz. You can put it at any level of your business. I also get asked all the time, can I send a quiz to my existing list? Like, sending a quiz to your existing email list will obviously not grow your email list unless you're asking them, hey, share this with your friends or, give me feedback on it. But it will segment your existing list. And so if you've been in business for a year or two, right? Or even if you're just getting started and you have a list, but you've never segmented them, then sending a quiz to your existing list is a really great way to get that market research. It's a different type of quiz that's not intended for people who maybe are not in your world or who don't know about you yet. So yeah, really, you can do anything with a quiz. It's really fun. Interact AI makes it super easy to make as many as you want. Again, start with one, everybody. But really, at the end of the day, think through the strategy, and we'll help you pull that out in the strategy calls if you book one with us, because you really want to follow the intent of the quiz. Like, each quiz can be designed however you want it to be designed, but let it do the thing that you actually want it to do so it's purposeful in your business.
So I know we're both dying to hear you talk about Interact AI, because this is totally next level. And listen, You and I are both well aware that AI is literally disrupting and changing the world everywhere, including your company.
Yeah.
So, different people listening now have different amounts of experience with AI. Everybody knows about ChatGPT. Some of us are up to our eyelashes in AI in all different areas. How did AI revolutionize your business, and why is this the best time for somebody to do a quiz specifically with you?
Yeah, the thing that everybody in our world, like interact ideal customers, interact audiences, like interact audience rather, the thing that they were all asking us was, what do I make my quiz about? And we can do that. We're a team of 13 people. And so we can do that by talking to you and figuring out, like doing these strategy calls, right? But to actually make that many quizzes for all of our customers as a team of 13 is impossible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so with AI, what we did was implement all of our strategy. So the quiz strategy doesn't change at all. That's all built into these back-end prompts that you, and I want to say this too, Interact AI started with, if anybody played with it last year, I think it was all of last year, that was our team going into ChatGPT and testing out the prompts, perfecting the prompts. And now we're to the point where we have a team of, I think, three or four full-time developers on our team who have implemented that into like the back end of our actual tool. And so you're not using ChatGPT at all. So if you are completely unfamiliar or don't use AI in your business, don't be scared by us saying Interact AI. You don't need to know prompt design. You don't need to know how to use ChatGPT. It's literally a form or a quiz, if you will, on our website that you fill out. You add in your website so that we can pull copy from it and your brand style and voice, your products it can read, your offerings, right? So it knows who you are and what makes your business unique, because that's all on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you want to make a quiz on like a specific freebie or resource or blog post that you have, you can drop that link into Interact AI to get started, and it would make a quiz specific to that. A great example of this, I'm going off topic, Diane.
No, you are. I'm just thinking, are you going to only limit me to one strategy call, or can I be a repeat offender? Because you're giving me so many ideas, Jackie.
I'm having fun, so we'll talk more. We're friends now, so
Okay.
I can let it slide.
Awesome.
But a great example of this blog post quiz is I talked to somebody, his name is Ron, who has a travel blogging business. And so him and his wife do all of these like US hiking tours and river rafting tours. So they have tons of blogs on river rafting tours in the US, hiking trails in the US. And so you can literally, or he can literally pop those blogs into Interact AI and make a quiz like, which trail should you hike? Which river rafting cruise should you hike? And think about all the blogs that he has in his repertoire, right, on his site, that he could put specific quizzes on specific blogs so that they're really targeted to the person who's reading them. And so back to the original question, Interact AI, once you put your link in there based on what your site or your blog post, whatever you want to build it off of, it asks you a few other questions like, what's the biggest problem that you help your customers solve? That's pulling out that, what do your customers want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Interact AI will recommend, I think it's five-ish titles, maybe more, like maybe like 8 titles that you can choose from. And so once you sort of have, and that's where, this is another thing that people would get hooked on, or like sort of like blocked on in the group coaching sessions, was what type of quiz should I make? Personality versus scored versus assessment.
Right.
Interact AI does that for you too. Based on the title that you click on, hey, this one sounds really interesting, let me go with that.
Mm-hmm.
It will actually build out all of the quiz questions, all of the quiz results, all of the logic, so that when someone's choosing certain answers, it gets them to the right result. And it does it all for you, and it puts you in your account all in about literally 2 minutes. It says 1 minute on our website because from the time you click generate, it's about a minute. But when I like to, I don't know. Anyways, in a minute, you'll have a quiz instead of 5 weeks. So you're welcome, everybody. It's been an amazing experience playing with AI, developing the tool with the team. Everybody was literally all hands on deck last year to get this built out and fully automated. And it happened early this year. And it's been so awesome to see. I love to trick it, right? Like, oh, make that quiz AI. And it always gets it. I'm like, all right, this is amazing. But I will say the quiz that you get is a perfect first draft. And then you don't have to think about, okay, here's my ideas for my business that I'm such an expert in. Sometimes I'm too far in the weeds. Interact AI puts those ideas into quiz format so that when you're in your Interact account, it's super easy for you to say, well, I would just change this wording to this. Maybe I would say this, or I would like to know this about my audience, so I'm going to add this segmentation question. Let me build out the results by saying, this is what you should do next, linking to blog posts, freebies, resources, funnels, etc.
I'm really glad you said that because a lot of people are very pro AI. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
this is perfect. I don't have to do anything anymore. I'm just going to get the bots to do it. It's like, that's not it. And then people on the other side of the fence are like, oh, I'm a creative person.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way AI could speak in my voice. Well, it's neither one extreme nor the other. It's a tool that eliminates a lot of decision fatigue, eliminates a lot of confusion, eliminates a lot of overthinking, simplifies, structures, streamlines so that you can then go in and edit it to sound like you. Because I have all kinds of my little funky expressions that people associate
Mm-hmm.
with me. And if my quiz didn't have those expressions, it wouldn't sound like me. But AI is not going to know that, and I wouldn't expect it to. AI is going to give me the basic structure, and I then get to go in and personalize. And so that's perfect. It must save at least 80% of the time and effort. And then it's like you just go in and make it yours.
Yeah, for the creators, you literally just get to create. We have a podcast episode on Interact where the team was talking about barriers to making quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
And our CEO, Josh, explained it really well, where the reason people struggled so much or still struggle with deciding on the quiz topic and what to make their quiz about is because, and actually like, okay, maybe they have the idea, but putting it all together is because creating a quiz is literally a different level of thinking, right? Like, you know what to do with your business, but now go put that in quiz format. People are like, what? I don't know how to do that. So AI is literally taking all of it and putting it into quiz format for you. It's doing that level of thinking so that you can just go in and be the creator and customize it to your liking.
You guys have gone all in on quizzes. When I first signed up for Interact, there were 3 options. And of course, I love me some options. And I think I'm going to do them all. Well, let me tell you, I did not. And then they went away. And I'm like, oh, shit, I missed my opportunity. Why did you get rid of the polls and the contests? Because I thought the people who want to build their business using curiosity, playfulness, originality, fun, that might be cool too. You guys have gotten rid of those. It's all quizzes now.
Yeah, so the reason that we pulled them off of the tool was because nobody used them, to be honest with you.
Everybody was like me.
Yeah, they looked cool.
I could do that.
When they went away, everybody was like, "Why are we taking them away?" And I'm like, "But you never used them, so did you want to use one now?" And they're like, "No,
Not
but
really.
I just was wondering." But the other thing is, you can actually make a poll or a giveaway with a quiz.
Get
so
out.
It was it's essentially the same exact thing, but a poll would be like a 1-question quiz. You can remove the cover. So polls and giveaways are still, and on the opt-in form, you can enter your details to be entered into this giveaway, right? Like, polls and giveaways can still be created, but it's just using the quiz feature. So don't be thrown off by the language too much. You can still make them, and we'll talk about that in your strategy call, Diane, if you really need one or not.
No, actually, I don't think I do, but it's just such a human nature kind of thing that we sign up for something because it gives us so many options. And then we don't use it, but we feel bad when it's no longer there. Actually, it's a freaking gift because with brains like ours, more options is not going to get you more results. It's going to get you more faffing around and thinking about doing something without actually doing it. One thing that you do extremely well, it is very effective, and you get personalized help from an expert like you. Like, no, please don't bring them back. That would be just a distraction for me. And I got enough of those.
Yeah, but if there were a need for them, you still could use the quiz feature to actually build them. Yep, totally.
So good. We have said everything that needs to be said. I think everyone listening to this episode should absolutely try a quiz. It is easier, faster, more fun. And in my experience, really great results. And now it's going to be even more fun with Interact AI. So I'm
Yeah.
booking that strategy call now.
Please do. I can't wait to dig in. I have to add one more thing because you keep saying gaming and fun experience. And I think one sort of use case that didn't come up on this call that I always relate to as like a gaming tactic or a fun like choose your own adventure type technique of using quizzes is within your community. So when we were running the Quiz Collective through this coaching cohort group that we did it off of Circle. And there was a gal in the Circle community. So I would learn from them how to build the Quiz Collective, where she used a quiz as an entry point into her community. And then it literally was like a choose your own adventure. So you'd answer questions and the result would point you to the spot in the community or the space in the community that you needed to be in based on however you answer the questions, right? So there was like, you when you enter communities, there's usually like a get started here, right? Or if you're in a Slack group, there's tons of different channels. And so a quiz is a really great way, whether it's in a community or on your blog or on your website, right? Think about it as a way to redirect someone to the spot that they need to get in. Because we keep talking about this like attention deficit and analysis paralysis. And the quiz is cutting through all of that noise and getting the person where they need to be faster. And so I just wanted to bring up the community use case because I think it's really fun. And you know, the books where it's like, turn to page 60 if you want this to happen. Like essentially your quiz is doing that, but page 60 is your website or a blog or a community or something like that.
This is so good, Jackie, because you're absolutely right. People will hire an expert like me because of how much I know, but then get overwhelmed with trying to figure out where should we start and what should we talk about and what should we do. So being able to help a person not only know which one of your programs to choose through a quiz, but once they've gotten started with you, what's the specific thing we could start with so that you're literally eliminating that burden from their mind and they can begin with confidence. Just removing everything that makes it hard to start. I absolutely love it. So good.
Totally. Okay. That's everything there is to be said.
It's a mic drop moment. We're done. We're done here.
Until you book your strategy call, everybody. Then we'll really dig into your own business and your personal quizzes.
Awesome. Well, boss, isn't it exciting to think about all the ways that you could be using a quiz to grow your business and even serve your existing clients better? In the spirit of curiosity, novelty, and fun, here's a choose your own adventure call to action to wrap up this episode. You could take my quiz to find out which of the 6 obstacles is the one you need to remove in your business. You could check out Interact AI using my affiliate link so they know that you heard about them on ADHD-ish. Or you could sign up for a one-to-one strategy call with Jackie or a member of her team. You could even do all of the above. The links are in the show notes, and the next step is up to you.